Hello, this is TechMan88, and I'm just looking at Minecraft 1.7.2 for the Mesa generation. And if you just look at this, you might not notice what's so much different about it, but there's an incredible difference. So this is version 1.13, and you'll notice just an incredible difference. This all generates stone. I think it's going to have 10 layers of terracotta, and then it's going to be stone the rest of the way down. But it makes a Mesa just look like crap. Nobody would ever want to even come into a Mesa with amplified terrain just because it looks so bad. So I'll go back to 1.7 and show more of that. So the reason I'm doing all this is that I want to bring this into version 1.13 and have the terrain generation from 1.7 and use that on 1.13. Just because of this fact where I can just dig, I can get so much more resources. And unfortunately there's no way to dupe terracotta, so you have to do it this way. But just look at all that. And that's not even all the way to the bottom. Can keep going after that a bit. I'll attempt a big TNT explosion. Okay. This shouldn't crash my computer because, as I was saying, this is much higher performance back then. But yeah, this isn't even the tallest mountain. This is only up to Y192. It is pretty tall, but they can go all the way up. And I prefer this sort of thing where it's an island because then you can just switch to amplified terrain at some point. And you're much less likely to overwrite some other region file of this. And by the way, you don't have to use mcedit. What you do is you can figure out. So Minecraft is written into these 512 by 512 squares, and yeah, you probably can't see my cursor, but if you take the z coordinate and divide that by 512, that'll give you some number. So in my case, that is. Okay, so the region file is this, R0.7 or 0.8. So if I just take those two regions and paste them into my 1.13 world, if they don't overwrite anything, then I know I'm in business. If they do overwrite something, I just have to be careful, maybe find a different island to do this on. So once you're done generating all the terrain you want to generate and you're sure about that, then you go into your saves in your 1.7 directory, and then you go into the region folder, and then you want to sort by date modified, so the most recent ones were saved recently. And you can see these are all at 1309, and that's when I was running it, and you see there's a big gap to the next one. So this is a nice confirmation that you're getting all the chunks that you want to get in there. Then you want to ignore the spawn chunks, of course. Those are the ones with the coordinates 0, 0, and yeah, if you copy those in, you're gonna wreck your world probably. You'll just overwrite the wrong regions, and then so yeah, you would want to copy these 4 files, just the ones where they're not the spawn chunks. So this is my 1.13 Minecraft directory. So I'm just going into a brand new world that I created. And you can see this is the region files that are populated, and I've quit out of that in Minecraft, so I'm not worried about overwriting it. So now I just copy those 4 files into the new world. Then I will start that up in Minecraft. All right, so back in Minecraft, this is the one I just created. I didn't show that on camera. I'm sorry. So yeah, this is just a creative world, so I can easily teleport. So it's TP0 4000. And these might take a second to load because they're in a super old format. But we'll see in a second. Waiting for a chunk. Well, it seems to be working, but I guess it is going to be very slow. Running in some kind of compatibility mode. And I didn't do a very good job at generating all the chunks, so I'm just going to fly around and see if we see anything. that looks bad. See the problem? If you just look down onto the ocean floor, you might be able to notice that there's no kelp. So that's one thing. And I guess over here you should be able to see, yeah, there's a transition to the to the newest world generation. But I'll see if I can find one of those horrible things. Oh yeah, this would be one artifact to get. I don't think that's any deal at all. Yeah, I didn't end up overwriting this thing, the coral reef, so that's good. Those are pretty rare if you're not familiar with 1.13. Of course, this technique can be used in any version, even 1.8 if you want, if you're still using that. I'm not sure if that's an artifact or what. Who knows? That did look like an artifact. The 1.7 world generation is kind of slow, but it looks like this has been successfully imported, and you can see the transition. You can see that this is amplified, and not the crappy world generation, and this is not amplified down here. Yeah, getting over to another Mesa that I didn't generate with amplified. So if you really care about the transitions between regions or whatever, and you want to totally avoid having some giant wall somewhere, then I would probably do it like I just did it, where like I just pasted this into a brand new world. I didn't have to worry about checking this in survival. I can just go over in creative and see exactly where the border is going to end up. So you don't have to choose an island to do this on if you don't want. I was down at this island, and it looks pretty big on this map, but it's pretty small when it comes down to it, and I think I'd much rather have a bigger area to do it. So I might choose this spot right here. And another thing you can do is, if you're only going to come there via nether tunnel, then you don't have to worry so much about harsh edges somewhere, because this is like 6,000 blocks away from spawn, and I'll likely never do anything out here. So yeah, if I just have like another portal somewhere in the middle, then I'll be able to fly around, and then I'll never experience that big line between amplified and not amplified. So if you're curious what this looks like if you don't do the transition like carefully, it's kind of like this, where you get the amplified right up next to normal terrain. So this the amplified terrain is buggy already, so maybe you don't even care about this. But it also just, it's a good chance to just see how deep this is. I mean, how much terracotta you can get out of one of these mountains that's not even that big. Just insane. So I wanted to show just how much faster 1.7.2 starts than the current versions. So starting it now, and this is up for just like 1 second. I mean, in my opinion, there's absolutely no reason why the modern versions need to be so incredibly slow. Like even if you do options in like resource packs, I guess it's gonna reload the resource packs when I do that, and that just takes 1 second as well. They really broke something. And now I'll just show like a couple more maybe interesting things about this version. So another difference that I just noticed is that this seems to be a little bit faster. I don't know if that's exactly true, but that's just my observation. Another thing, like on the TNT, some of the ends are backwards on different sides of the TNT. Just a lot of little stuff you notice after you've been playing the newer versions for so long. See about the performance and just show that this terrain generation, it'll go all the way down. TNT I think actually looks cooler, because I don't think there's a fill command in this version. Like I'd try to do that, or help. And the help page is kind of weird too. Like you have to do help 2 to get the second page. Yeah, there's no fill command. So that would be pretty hard. I don't know any other way to do this besides TNT. Maybe I'll try it like that. It's pretty fun to go back to these old versions. See what life was like before. I didn't even play this version. I started in 1.8. So I never got to experience this. I mostly saw it through Etho's videos. And that's actually where I noticed that the terrain generation was different. Because like just once he went to a Mesa biome, and he showed his mining operation. I think it was in a world tour, and he never showed it after that. But that's, yeah, I noticed that there's just all this Mesa around, and then I realized he generated it in a different version than I had. Another thing they have in here I thought it was kind of funny is just the super secret settings. It just lets you turn on different shaders. So it can be hard to see, but to see what you're using, you just you look right here and look at the shader. And there's like 30 of them or something like that, but I think this looks really cool. Some of the stuff they put in there. I wish they had continued doing some of these like Easter eggs, because some of these you might actually be fine playing with, just for a little change. Yeah, a whole lot of pretty neat stuff. I'll just go through a couple more of those. It's kind of weird. Upside down. Oh, and related to that, let's see, effect. Yeah, nausea. Maybe this is still in the game, I'm not sure. Sorry if this is making you sick. I'll take that away. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Back when shaders were new, everybody wanted to use them. That was not me, that was the game. Matrix style. Edge finding, or Sobel. Yeah. 8-bit, or 16, no, 4-bit. 4-bit color, CGA, or something. Sepia, maybe? Desaturate. Yeah. This is the first time I'm looking at them. I'm sorry if this is if you've seen all this stuff before. Yeah, there's a whole ton of them, and I don't think there's really a way to get back to the first one. So I guess I just gotta go through all of them. This is still some shader. I don't know what it's doing. Anti-alias, I think. Yeah, now it's off. Now I'm just going through and generating part of this island that I forgot to do. And I'll just finish up with this. There will be I'll write down some steps on how you do this in the description. So you can check that, and I'll try and make sure I include every detail that I might have forgotten. And with this part where you're just going around and letting it generate, it does take a while, but I would definitely take the time to do that so you get your complete island. And maybe when you're doing this, don't go out too far into the water if you happen to have an island. Like, you want to probably generate as little as possible when you do this. And yeah, in 1.13, I guess these tend to generate near coral reefs because this is a hot biome and coral reefs are also hot. So yeah, yeah, if you care about coral reefs, it's probably good to just stay towards the interior because it will generate pretty far away. And I've got my video settings. They're at 16 chunks. I guess I probably should be at about 12. That's probably smarter. And another thing while you're doing this, the effect commands, back then you had to do like effect, then your name, and then 1 would be speed, and this is the number of seconds to give it for. So yeah, that's pretty good for getting around because there's no spectator mode as far as I know. Like game mode, or is it 3? No, that's, yeah, I just went into survival. Got to be careful about that too. And the music stopped. And also another thing I wanted to say about this is I don't really think this can be considered cheating because there is a way that you could actually get terrain like this, sort of. You would have to change the amplified at some point with like NBT Explorer. But hypothetically, if you started in 1.7.2, started your world there and traveled out to this part just instantly, and then after that, like you upgraded to 1.13 and you decided to delete your spawn chunks and everything else in the world, and you just kept this. That's something people do often. They'll like delete all the end cities or whatever, just reset some regions, and I don't think that's cheating either. So it's like the combination of a couple things that are kind of questionable make this not actually cheating. So yeah, I guess this is questionable at most, but I think it's totally fine. I think it adds a whole lot of fun to it, and I think the Mesa Extreme generation in 1.7.2 is I think some of the most interesting in the whole game. But yeah, the eventual point of this is just more related to my own single-player map, is that I'll import this into my single-player world, and then I'll set out some sort of mining outpost out here, and I'll have a little furnace EXP farm, and then I can set up like some item transport where I push everything over to the bottom. And I think I'll show that in some later like Let's Play type episode, because I think it's going to be pretty neat. And I guess while you're doing this stuff, you can also just try out the shaders. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Memories coming back. I didn't actually play in this version at all. I started in 1.8, but I watched a lot of Ethos videos in this version. And it's just kind of cool, like even going back to the really early beta days, the beta days of Minecraft, and just looking at that. These shaders can actually get pretty annoying. That's kind of cool though. And if you press F3 while you're switching the shaders around, you can see in the background, you can see when the shader thing turns off like that, then you're out of the shader mode. So anyway, I think I'm going to end this video about here. And yeah, I think you really should do that. And definitely check the description, and the most important step is, of course, just back up your world before you do anything. Just definitely do that, because you don't want to mess up your builds. So anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye.